You're listening to Dilaw na Kandila, English Filipino Horror Stories. Hello everyone, I'm Eric, but everybody calls me Sir Sig, a Filipino writer and horror story host, and this is Dilaw na Kandila. On this channel, I share English Filipino horror stories that I personally write, inspired by our culture, our beliefs, and the many mysterious stories that exist in the Philippines. I grew up hearing stories about ghosts, spirits, diwata, encanto, and other creatures from our folklore, and this channel is my way of sharing those stories with all of you. Some of the stories you'll hear here are pure horror fiction that I wrote, but many of them are also real-life experiences sent by my followers directly to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read their stories, write them into narrative form, and share them here so more people can hear about these strange and terrifying experiences. I also want to be honest with you. My English is not very good, so I use Edge Translator and AI voice to help me tell my stories in English. I hope you don't mind the AI voice, but I promise you that every story on this channel is written with effort, passion, and the goal of entertaining your mind, and maybe even giving your soul a little chill. So if you enjoy horror stories, mysteries, and tales inspired by Filipino culture and folklore, you're in the right place. Turn down the lights, relax, and listen carefully.
The year was 1804, in a small town in the northern lands of Luzon, in a remote place called San Isidro. One name was whispered again and again in the stories of the elders. A man, a creature, a curse. His name was Maximus Delos Santos. He was not a king. He was not a saint. But in the darkness of night, he was always the one seen standing tall, weapon in hand, hardened by years of fighting monsters. A renowned monster hunter, a man of the night. The town was quiet, too quiet. The only sounds were the wind brushing through narrow streets and the distant chirping of crickets. Yet in every corner, in every home, candles and oil lamps burned brightly. Mothers held their children tightly. Fathers prayed silently, gripping their itak blades. Because once again, people had disappeared. No one knew what had happened. For several nights now, the same thing kept repeating. First, it was livestock that vanished. Then a baby left sleeping in a cradle. And now, 3 siblings had suddenly disappeared without a trace. And if you listen closely, far beyond the town, deep within the thick forest, you could hear something. A faint laugh. Not human. Creatures of the dark. The elders whispered. Aswang. And in the middle of that fear, someone arrived. A tall figure. He wore a hunter's outfit and a long black cloak. Weapons hung from his body, a shining sword, a bow, and several daggers said to have been passed down from his ancestors. At his waist was a small bottle of shimmering oil. He was Maximus Delos Santos, not an ordinary man. He was raised by a legendary family of monster hunters, guardians to some, yet a curse to others, because Maximus did not age like normal people. Some of the elders claimed they had seen him when they were young men, and now, in their 60s, he still looked exactly the same. Strong, untouched by time, Maybe that was just his father, someone once joked. Perhaps they just look alike. But deep down, everyone knew something was strange. Maximus carried a secret he never spoke of. Now, let us enter the story. Don Lorenzo, the town captain, refused to believe any of it. To him, the stories of monsters were nothing but foolish superstition. But the people had seen the dead cattle torn apart. They heard crying in the night. They felt the sudden cold wind that passed through their homes. Don Lorenzo, we must act, a farmer pleaded. But the captain only smirked. Those are just rumors. Honestly, I would believe rebels before I believe monsters, he said, as if hiding something. What the people did not know was that Don Lorenzo had long made a deal. Some nights, he offered blood and flesh to the darkness in exchange for wealth and protection. One night, Maximus walked alone through the forest, investigating. Sword at his side, a pistol in hand. Silence. He heard branches creaking. He felt eyes watching him. Suddenly, a creature dropped from above. Wings, razor claws, eyes burning red, and a swang. The monster screamed and lunged. But Maximus moved faster. A swift spin, a flash of steel. Blood splattered onto the ground. Sun just set and you're already hungry. No wonder you're so fat, he muttered coldly with a faint smirk. But wasn't alone. Behind him, 3 more emerged from the trees. 2 more from the side. They surrounded him, leaping, screeching, crying with inhuman voices. And then, the brutal battle began. Maximus drew his pistol, a hybrid revolver with twin barrels. 1, 2, 3. The creatures were struck, falling to the ground, but not dying easily. One lunged, claws tearing toward him. He let it strike his shoulder, then drove a dagger beneath its jaw. Another flew from behind, but Maximus kicked it into a tree and beheaded it in one swing. Blood soaked the earth. The smell of rot filled the air, and from afar, villagers watched, terrified, because as Maximus fought, something flickered in his eyes. A golden glow, just for a moment, but the people saw it. "That's not a human," someone whispered. "I've seen him since I was a boy, and he still looks the same. Maybe that was just his father," another said weakly. "No, I'm sure of it. I've seen those eyes before." No one spoke again, because they all knew the man before them was not ordinary. Soon the battle ended. One Aswang remained, kneeling, bleeding, and barely alive. Maximus approached. He grabbed the creature's hair and lifted its face. The monster spoke with a raspy whisper filled with hatred. "Hypocrite, no matter what you do, you're a monster too, just like us." It laughed weakly. "We know your secret." Maximus froze. Like electricity ran through his body. Before he could stop himself, he tore the creature apart, ripped its head free, tore its flesh until nothing remained but bloody pieces. That was not normal anger. That was not the discipline of a hunter. That was the instinct of a monster. On his arm, a mark suddenly burned, like hot coals pressed into his skin. It burned, and around him, the villagers stared in silence. They couldn't believe what they had seen. Maximus stopped. He took a deep breath and looked down. He knew. They had seen it. It could no longer be hidden, because that night, in the dark forest of San Isidro, for the first time, a dying monster whispered the word he feared most. Monster, wolf, traitor, and somewhere in the darkness, something watched. Not human, not merely a monster, a being of shadow, smiling. Maximus's hands were still trembling when he returned to town. The skin on his arm burned red, as if fire had been carved beneath it. He covered it with cloth, but the word echoed endlessly in his mind. He went straight to the church. There, Father Ezekiel, a priest who had long been allied with his family, welcomed him. Maximus, the priest said gently. Maximus placed his sword beside the altar. Under candlelight, blood and sweat still covered his hands. Father, tonight is the first time I've felt fear, Maximus whispered. Not fear of a creature, but fear of a word. Wolf. When I killed that Aswang, it felt like something else moved inside me, like my mind became an animal. No one knows that secret except my family. Father Ezekiel did not answer immediately. He simply told Maximus to kneel, pray, and rest in a room inside the church. But that night, the priest could not sleep. Alone, he opened an old chest containing ancient church records. And there he saw a record of the legendary white wolf. He rushed toward Maximus's room. He knocked. No answer. Then suddenly, the air grew heavy. The candle flames flickered violently before dying. Outside the convent window, a shadow passed. Not human, not merely a monster, a sign that the curse had begun. In the nights that followed, evil slowly spread. Villagers who had been healthy the night before were now pale, with marks on their necks. Animal corpses appeared in the streets like offerings. Worst of all, some people began losing themselves. Bites from monsters left black marks on their skin. At first, they seemed like ordinary wounds, but slowly, they became servants of darkness. Their eyes turned red. Their voices became growls. This was no longer just a swang. Something deeper was returning. Meanwhile, Don Lorenzo secretly gathered with creatures beneath his stone mansion. I will give you 20 more bodies, he whispered in the dark, in exchange for silver and protection from those who dare challenge me. From the shadows, a cold laughter echoed, and though the figure had not yet fully revealed itself, its power filled the room. The ancient ruler of monsters, the one the elders feared. In the ancient tongue, Sankre Dumaklaw, Lord of the Aswang. As fear spread through the town, Maximus was haunted by memories. In dreams, he saw his father again, Datu Isagani, a warrior of their bloodline sworn to destroy monsters. His father's words echoed in his mind. Remember this, my son. Your greatest weapon is not your sword, bow, or spear. Your greatest weapon is the knowledge passed down from the first Delos Santos. But his father also told him of the night everything changed. His mother was pregnant with him when a legendary white werewolf attacked. It tried to devour her alive. His father saved her, but the blood of the monster had already entered her body before Maximus was born. That was when the curse began. Maximus was born half man, half monster, a hybrid. And soon, the final battle came. At the cemetery of San Isidro, the dead began to rise. Not ordinary corpses. Amelinhig, dead bodies enslaved by shadow. Behind them stood endless Aswang, and leading them, Dumaklaw, the lord of the Aswang. Tall, wings made of smoke and shadow, a body twisted by countless souls. His face was a terrifying mix of man and bat. "I've waited a long time for you. Legendary white wolf," he said. "Return to your true form and serve under me." The battle that followed was like thunder clashing with lightning. Maximus fought with everything he had, but Dumaklaw bit deep into his shoulder and whispered, "You cannot hide it. You are not human. You are a monster, and you belong to me." Maximus collapsed, but under the moon, something awakened. His heart began beating like a war drum. His body changed. White fur burst from his skin. His bones expanded. His eyes burned with golden fire. Claws like blades. Fangs like silver. Before everyone's eyes, the creature of legend was born. Maximus the White Wolf. The Aswang stepped back in fear. "White werewolf," one whispered before Maximus tore him apart in a blur of lightning-fast movement. He became a storm of white fury in the darkness, ripping monsters apart, devouring the army of night. Even Father Ezekiel fought beside him with blessed bullets and sacred weapons, until finally Maximus seized Dumaklaw. With a roar of fury, he drove his claws into the monster's chest and tore out the heart of shadow. Dumaklaw screamed. His body crumbled into ash. The Amelinhig collapsed. The Aswang fled into the darkness, and dawn returned to San Isidro. The town fell silent, but the people did not cheer. They stared at Maximus with fear. "He's a monster, but he only kills monsters," an elder replied. "So what is he?" Father Ezekiel spoke. "He is Maximus Delos Santos, the monster hunter. A human, just like us." Maximus said nothing. He simply turned away. He put on his hunter's outfit, the old hat of his father, and his black cloak. He gathered his weapons and walked toward the mountains. As the villagers whispered behind him, "A monster? Who hunts monsters?" The White Wolf, the guardian of the night. And in his mind, his final words echoed, "I am not human, and I am not a monster. I am the shadow of the night. I am Maximus Delos Santos, a hunter of monsters, a lone wolf." And that is where the story ends.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing Filipino tales, folklore, and true stories from my culture. The Philippines is a land filled with mystery, old beliefs, and stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. Through this channel, I hope I can share a small part of those stories with all of you. If this story gave you chills, or reminded you of something strange that happened in your own life, then maybe the world is more mysterious than we think. If you enjoy Filipino horror stories, folklore, and real paranormal experiences, and you don't mind that these stories are narrated using an AI voice. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. And if you have your own scary experience, something you can't explain, something that still haunts you until today, you can send your story to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read your messages, and some of them may become the next story featured here on this channel. Remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are not the ones we imagine. Sometimes they are the ones that really happened. This is Sir Sig, and thank you for listening to Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. Until the next story, keep the lights low and keep the candle burning.